तरफ रहने दो ये अपनी पाठशाला, ये खुला आसमान के नीचे, जहां हम फिर से जाएंगे हाथ में लिए स्लेट और चेहरे पे मुस्कुराहट।
Architecture has found a novel recognition amongst crowds. But is it also neoteric after all? To us, heritage stands tall and proud in the city of Mysore, instilling upon us the legacy of architecture, pioneering before the times of the erstwhile rulers of Mysore. Mysore School of Architecture dwells in a city so conducive that helps us equip the minds of young, aspiring architects. The location, situated away from the clamor of persistent honking and hooting, provides a pleasant and placid environment with only the hustle of appetent students. At MSA, learning is not restricted within four walls. Communal learning, characterized by study tours, workshops, webinars, and site visits, come together to form a wholesome experience. The state of the art infrastructure and amenities help the students to grow and to learn, all the while focusing on nurturing their minds without worrying about anything else. Spacious and well equipped studios that bring together students and instill in them the celebrated studio culture. A small pedagogical yet bedecked library where students and professors can harness information and insight varying from different fields coherent to architecture, history, construction, design, works and writings on and authored by those eminent and master in the field of architecture. With this informed and enlightening approach of training aided by diligent faculty and equally ardent students, we pride ourselves on our culture at MSA. It builds not just minds, but bonds, sororities, fraternities, and kinship. We welcome all prospective students into our fold. Join us on this adventurous journey to create a better tomorrow.
Very good evening, one and all. On behalf of Mysore School of Architecture, I extend a warm welcome to all our participants, the panelists, and everyone who's joined us here on a nice Sunday evening. There could have been so many other things you would have been doing, like, for instance, sleeping, but you've had the goodness to come and listen and the interest to come and participate in this. So thank you, one and all. This webinar is arranged almost every year. We do this in order to promote awareness about the course of architecture itself. Today, there are so many options for a youngster to choose from, and it's always good to make an informed choice. And how do you make an informed choice? In times like the pandemic, such as now, the webinars and videos about colleges and all that are one way of getting to know about that institution, and people who have been in the field as well as training and teaching in the field are good people to speak to find out what the entire process of becoming an architect entails. So this webinar is characterized, I mean, it's structured that way that one of the panelists will speak on the entrance procedures and what the prerequisites for getting into architecture, after which we will have one more person talking about what practice involves. What is it to be an architect, and how you know, what are the different ways in which you can practice. Then now children are so smart or so far-sighted that even before they join the bachelor's course, they want to know what after finishing the master's. What do I do after that? So we've got a section on that as well. Okay, once you finish architecture, one is, yes, you will, the most important thing and the one thing that you will look for is to practice architecture itself. But along with that, how can you, specialize in certain fields, or how can you get into allied fields if you want? So that is how the whole webinar is structured. For starters, we will have architect Kavya Chandrasekhar, who will talk about the entrance procedures and how you need to get to trained to get into architecture. Kavya Chandrasekhar is the co-founder and creative head of the Design Venue. Many of you who have registered and are participating, I don't think she's new to you. You might have already known her. But for the ones who don't, Design Venue is an academy with a difference, which guides students for various design, fashion, and architecture entrance exam. They also help with portfolio preparations for universities, both in India and abroad. The Design Venue is her brainchild, which was started a decade ago with co-founder Mr. Chandrasekhar. And today they have 6 centers in prime locations of Bangalore and also a center in Indore and Trivandrum. This has been made possible because of her leadership and relentless perseverance. She also has to her credit that she's guided students to secure top ranks in design, fashion, and architecture entrance exams right from the year of its inception. Apart from teaching, she has over a decade of experience in architecture and interior design too. She has been a team player and also headed a few design projects. She was a part of the design team which won the prestigious Visual Merchandising and Retail Design Award. She has also had the honor of being chosen as a panelist by the All India Design Fraternity and KPMG to rank design colleges across India, including IITs, NID, and NIFT. And she has judged students across India for the final round of the All India Design Olympiad examination. She has unfathomable passion and immense patience for teaching and mentoring, and at the same time continues to pursue the adventures of the built environment. Kavya, that was a very, very impressive thing. Over to you. You can please educate the participants regarding the process.
Sure, ma'am. Thanks for the warm welcome. A very good evening to all of you who've joined us today. So I'll be taking you through the journey of how you could choose architecture as a career. Why architecture, how you would go about choosing it as a career, and what are the things that you need to keep in mind when you're choosing it. You do have an entrance exam. So I'll also be taking you through this on how you go about preparing yourself for the entrance exam as well. I'll be sharing my screen. Please, one of you let me know if it is visible. The screen visible?
Yes, Kavya, it's visible.
Okay, great. Okay, so I would say architecture, in case you choose, is definitely a very promising creative career. The next few slides is for you to read. We will dwell about it a little later. So you can look at yourself on whether you're the left brain or the right brain, and depending on it, what are the career choices that is most suitable for you? And how would you go about choosing your career? I mean, many of you could probably envisage this in yourself. So what's architecture? You can read through these slides. What I'll be presenting you is some of the thought leaders in architecture. So this is architect Frank Lloyd Wright. All of you will have to remember this. So architecture is more than just buildings. It's basically the essence of life. So for you to, a small, Sapna ma'am did show you about Mysore School of Architecture. This is small tidbits into life of a student of architecture. The rosy pictures you have and what the reality is. So this will be you 4 years or 5 years doing architecture. Not to scare you, but to show you the reality. Okay, so now all of you got a few visuals for you to understand in a nutshell what architecture is. We've got two other great architects who will also be running you through this. I will tell you now in case this is what you've decided to do. So how would you go about doing? So in case you want to take up architecture, in case you want to take up a career in architecture, you do have an entrance exam that you will have to give, which is NATA, National Aptitude Test in Architecture. The examinations basically conducted twice. The first attempt is over. That was on the 10th of April. The second attempt is on the 11th of July. For the ones who've not applied as yet, you still have time, not to worry. 30th June is the last day for you to apply for the 11th of July examination. So the examinations basically conducted from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and you have a total of 125 questions for 200 marks. So what is the content of the examination? What is it that they're judging you in order to be an architect? So it's basically divided into three categories. Reasoning, when I say reasoning, you've got diagrammatic reasoning, numerical reasoning, verbal reasoning, inductive reasoning, situational, logical reasoning, abstract. I know all of this sounds a little heavy. Don't worry. I will give you examples to let you know how these things are done. Then you also have questions with regard to images and architectural awareness. So that's the content. Moving on, how is it that these kind of questions are asked? So the questions are asked in these four formats. You've got multiple choice questions, multiple select questions, preferential choice questions, and numerical answer questions. So as I told you previously, you've got 125 questions for a total of 200 marks. The time duration is 3 hours. And each of the questions varies. It varies from 1, 2, and 3 marks. So moving on to multiple choice questions, which is MCQs, you'll be given an object. You'll have to say how it looks in plan, front elevation, or side elevation. You have 4 options, out of which you need to click on one right answer. On the same lines, you'll be given an object. You have to say how many vertices, edges are there. Then you've got paper folding questions. You got a particular pattern. You'll have to say what completes the pattern or which of these answer figures fits in this blank space of the question figure. So these are the kind of questions you would get under multiple choice question. Then you've got group A and B. You have to say which of these do not belong to either group A or B, or what comes in the place of the question mark. Next, that was multiple choice question. Now, what is multiple select question? Here, you have a question and you also have 4 options, out of which more than one answer is right. So you've got multiple answers that are right. So if you look at this question, you've got the right answers are answer A, option A, B, and C. So the difference between multiple choices, you've got a question, you have 4 options, out of which one answer is right. In multiple select, you have a question and you have 4 options. More than one option is right. That's multiple select. I'll give you a few more examples for you to understand better. Again, over here, you can say which of the given figure can be drawn without either lifting a pen or retracing any line. So you've got the question and you have the options. Again, the right answer is option B, C, and D. So that's what multiple select question is. Or you've got a particular statement. You have to say which of them is true, false. So here what really makes sense is the answer is the option A and D. Okay, next I spoke to you about preferential choice questions. So under preferential choice questions, you'll be given an image or a question, and you will also be given answers. Most of the answers sounds right for that particular question, but among the answers given, you will have to shortlist or you will have to give the answer that is most preferred among the options that is provided. So if you look at this particular one, I'll show you with the one with the answer. Okay, so if you look at this, you might probably think this is texture, this is line. All of these answers, what you have options in a way might be right, but then among all the options available, what makes most sense or what is more preferred is probably value. So then this is preferential choice question. You need to see what is the most preferred answers among the options that is provided to you. Okay. The next set of question is numerical answer question. Here they will give you questions like count the number of circles in the given figure. Here you'll have to remember there are absolutely no options. You need to directly enter the answer using the virtual keyboard, and this exam is an online examination. Okay, so how would you come up with the answer? So you go about counting the questions with different colors and then finally decide and say how many circles are there. So here the answer is 8. So there's no option available. You need to directly assess the question and come up with answers. Shown here are different types of leaves. Count how many types of leaves are there. They're not asked you the number of leaves, but you'll have to come up with what are the different kinds of leaves that are available. So again, you've got, when you count the different types, it's 8. Here in the given figure, you'll have to say you've got different letters L, T, H, I, E, and F. So you put them in different orientations. So you'll have to say how many letter T's are available in this particular composition. So this is numerical answer type. Another question that's asked is a memory test. So you'll be given an image for around 20 to 30 seconds, at the end of which you will be given questions. So do we do it? Do they have an option of writing the answers using the chat box?
No, I don't think so, Kavya.
Okay, fine. Okay, you can assess yourself and how good an observer you are. So I'll give all of you a minute. Say 30 seconds. I think 30 seconds will do.
Okay, I believe they can.
They can, is it? Okay. Let's see how many of you get your answers right now that you've looked into this image. Yes, guys, go ahead and answer them. Let's see how many of you get the right answer. Time's up for the first 5 questions. Time's up. So the ones who did answer, you can just check if you've got the answers right.
Kavya, there's some technical problem, so their answers cannot be tabulated.
Okay.
I think they will
Fine,
do
fine.
it.
At least, I mean, you at least get to know if you judge the answers right. Fine then. Okay, so this is memory test. Apart from this, you also have questions with regard to images. They might give you an image of either a building or a building material. When I say a building, it could be any building in the world, not necessarily an Indian building. It could be a building that's existing. It could be a building that has perished or something new which is coming up in the future. And also with regard to building material, they could give you an image of a building material. You will have to recognize from the image. So this is questions with regard to images. And then you have questions with regards to architectural awareness, like which is the highest award given to an architect, present day, a particular building is located in which country, which architect designed it, which material has been used in its construction. So this is your NATA examination. Okay, a lot of you might say, how is this related to architecture? Okay, how will they judge if I will be part of an architecture school? So basically the entrance exam is checking on your observation skills, it's checking on your attention to detail, it's checking on your visualization. Now all of these things is the key, or I would say the kind of skills that an architect requires, and this is how they're checking it through the entrance exam. They're not looking at how good an architect you are, because you are joining an architecture school to be one, so they cannot judge you on how good an architect you are. They're only checking if you've got the right skills to be part of an architecture school. So that's the whole reason why you do have an entrance exam. And you might be wondering, this is not something that you've learned over years, it's not there in your textbooks, there's nobody who's taught you. This is something that you've picked along the lines as you're growing up, what you've seen around you, the kind of experiences that you've had. So this is what you will learn in architecture school, learning through observing. Okay, so this is about the entrance exam. And then for how do you get in? Now you've done the entrance exam, and then you will have your results announced. So once the results are announced, what is it that you have to do? For students who studied 7 years in Karnataka, there are basically 3 ways that you get into an architecture school. One is for students who studied 7 years in Karnataka, you need to fill in the CET or the KEA application form. Remember, you don't have to write the CET exam. In case you do write, you'll get an engineering ranking. To be an to get admissions in an architecture school, all you have to do is submit your CET application form. Then once you get your NATA results, submit it to them. They will announce the architecture ranking. Your architecture ranking does not depend on you writing or not writing CET, but you'll have to remember that you have to register for CET, and the application form is the same. For engineering and architecture, the application form is the same. Okay, so this is one way. So they will give you a ranking for all students in Karnataka. NATA is an all India entrance exam, but ranking is given state-wise. Second way of how you could do is through COMEDK. Again, remember COMEDK, you've got 2 different applications, one for engineering and one for architecture. You need to fill in the COMEDK applications for architecture. Again, you don't have to write any exam. NATA is the only exam that you will have to do. So submit your, fill in the COMEDK application forms, submit your NATA scores. COMEDK will announce another set of ranking. And then the third way is management quota. After you've qualified the NATA examination, you can approach a college, say Mysore School of Architecture. You can approach them saying you're interested in securing a seat. You go meet the management and you get your seat there. You just have to follow the guidelines by each respective college, and then you can secure a seat. But you'll have to remember, irrespective of any which way you would want to secure a seat, you will have to remember that you have to write the entrance exam NATA, and you will have to clear the entrance exam. So clearing the entrance exam, the exam is on 200 marks. Generally, it is 80 on 200 that you have to score in order to be eligible. But you guys are lucky because of the pandemic, the councils reduced the cutoff to 70. So in case you have a score of above 70 on 200, you are eligible for an architecture seat. My time's up. I was given 10 minutes time, so I think my time's up. If you have any questions with regard to this, I would love to answer probably at the end of the session. Right, ma'am? At the end of the session, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Kavya. Thank you very much for that insightful session. A lot of us also who have been teaching in architecture colleges didn't know what the format was. So what you said was information for us also.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The participants, if you have any question, you can please type it out in the chat box, and we will take it at the end of all the three speakers speaking. We'll take the question answer session after everyone's talk. Kavya ma'am has just given us an introduction of how to get into architecture. Now, you go through the grind for 5 years, and you would have probably heard from seniors and people you know saying that it's a very difficult and tough course, but then it's very enjoyable and all that. Yes, after the about the grind, and also after the grind, what people tend to do. We have the design chair of Mysore School of Architecture, Professor Ranbir Madhulyar, to talk to us about that. He has completed his architectural degree course in 1978 from School of Architecture and Planning, then Madras University, after which he has worked in New Delhi for about 20 years. 10 years he was working with large architectural practices, architect Anil Lal and the likes, after which he started he had his own practice, which he ran with his wife, who is also an architect. Then he moved to Bahrain and Kuwait. For the next 20 years, he was working with large multinational design companies. There he was designing and managing very large developments across various countries. For the past 4 years, he has decided to settle down in Mysore, and he is the design chair at Mysore School of Architecture. He is currently more involved with the senior classes because that's where his expertise is more wanted. But everyone likes to talk to him because he keeps them engaged with his experience. And I'm sure the next 10, 15 minutes of your journey will also be as exciting as our students in the, when we have on-campus classes. Over to you, Ranbir sir.
Good afternoon. I really hope it's as exciting as ma'am said. And my memory is pretty clear about, years back when I was where you are now at the moment. And I was really confused, like, what am I supposed to do in life? What course do I take? During that time, everybody used to say doctor or engineer. That was the standard. Is it still the same? I guess it is still the same. Doctor, engineer, IIT. The pressure is always there. You've got to do this, you got to do this. Nobody cares what you want. So what I did was I said, hang everybody. I asked a lot of people and they said, nobody could advise me. So I went to the Madras University Students Information Center, and they have a lovely place there where, a syllabus of almost every college in India is placed there. I spent 3 full days there, just going through all the syllabus, and I was really impressed with some of them. One was psychology, one was geography, oceanography, climatology, and another some unknown subject called architecture. I had no clue what it was, and I loved it. It had a combination of arts and sciences, and it sounded really interesting. So I applied to these 3 places, and I did get through to, of course, as usual, everybody goes through the joint entrance exam, IIT. I joined the architecture. I joined geography first, then I shifted to architecture. And after that, I got IIT, so I refused to get that. Thank God I didn't do it, because I think that this is a lovely line. And primarily, let me advise all you children there, if you have interest in something, you will do well, irrespective of what course you choose. So if you are interested in architecture, go ahead. My journey over these last 48 years has been rewarding, really rewarding, and I have no regrets at all. I've enjoyed every phase of this. I mean, there have been troubles. There's no life without troubles, with obstacles and problems and all. That will always happen. There's been recession, people have lost jobs. We were practicing, it was a miserable time when there was recession, when there was no work around, begging people for work, asking for money, you're money that for the work that you've done, and people could not pay you. Like now, it's happening now. So don't worry, don't fret. In the long term, slow and steady, work hard, do something that you like, and it will be great. You'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy everything that you have been doing over here. So my first few years was, yes, like ma'am has already explained what I wanted to tell you. I worked with an office, medium-sized office, and the kind of thing that we were doing, don't think it's only architecture, it's just making drawings and buildings. We were making toys. We were making wooden tableware, out of teak wood and whatnot. And we were making Venetian blinds and we were marketing them. We were designing exhibitions and we were working day and night at, Pragati Maidan, and for the Asian Games 82, the kind of work we've done. Oh my God, I can't forget those, the moments. I remember I was in the main reception hall for the Asian Games 82 in Delhi. Overnight, we were working on a shop. And, one by one, these buses came in, filled with athletes, and the riot of color. I remember it was Taiwan, all wearing yellow. The Chinese contingent came, all red, all jackets, all absolutely, prim and proper. Thousands and thousands of athletes. And I stopped working. I was just standing, I was on the 4th, 5th floor, something like that in the atrium. I was just looking down, I was just looking at the color and all that. The amount of work we did, chances of meet, I had a chance to meet Indira Gandhi, chance to meet Rajiv Gandhi. Those days, he was just joining the thing. And there was the finance minister, Pranab Mukherjee, who became later the president. The kind of people we've met, film stars and whatnot, and politicians and businessmen, and it's a lovely line. It's a very great line. We just enjoyed those first 10 years of my life. Then after that, I started my own office. Total come down, smallest of projects. Absolutely, you have to start from scratch. No contacts, nothing. Contacts are very important. You need to build up your contacts in this line. You need to have a lot of people people of influence, and it's very extremely important. That's how you get work. Sometimes what happens is there's just capability does not get you work. And sometimes the other way happens. A lot of contacts get you work, even if you're not capable. So a lot of things happen in life. It happens I think it's there in every what do you call it? Profession. So, but you have independence when you're working your own office, and that too after 10 years of experience, 11 years of experience. I was very confident about running an office. We had a great time. What I used to do was carry a diary with me around, and I used to travel a lot. Small trips every time, small trip to Rajasthan, here, there, Himachal Pradesh, Kashmir, so many hill stations in Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, lot of travels, Madhya Pradesh, Orchha, Datia, various places. We ran out of places to see in Rajasthan. So we started looking at all the unusual places, Shekhawati and Rampur and whatnot. It was just great. I used to carry this and just sketch out anything that I liked. I used to go in a bus and I used to see something, a nice gate, I used to copy it down, sketch it out. I would see a movie and something I liked in a house or something, or a pool or something. I would note it down. I would sketch it out. There was no internet those days, no. So everything had to be done by hand. And when projects came to us, the first thing I would do is I would understand what the project is, go home and go through the diary. And ideas would flood my mind. And I would just take some ideas, and next morning I would have a concept ready. Because I've got all these things, inside me, all bursting with interest and enthusiasm. I wanted to get them to practice, to see how it works. So luckily, I had 10 years of working. I had so many options and so many buildings, and I tried to use as many of them, and I did use a lot of my ideas. Amazing things. And the pleasure of doodling, sketching something, and then afterwards seeing it built. And then, seeing a client saying, wow, so beautiful. I can't tell you the pleasure of it. It's amazing. It's almost like planting a seed, and the plant goes up into a tree, and you get a fruit, an apple or a peach or a plum, and you eat it, and it's sweet, juicy, So it's like that. I mean, other people will give example of a child growing up, and you see your own child growing up and all that, but forget that. I think seeing a plant grow up is very, very important, and it's really fulfilling. Okay, so then there was recession, and I had a lot of problems, no money, no work, nothing. I had no choice. I was totally against going abroad, but no choice. I took a job abroad. But that was an amazing phase of my life, 20 years. Worked with some of the largest companies in the world on some of the largest projects in the world. Yes, this is one. This is the Reem Mall, Abu Dhabi. What you can see the images now. These are the, it is the second largest, it was the second largest mall in the world. We had parking over 16 levels, 12 plus 3, 12 plus 3, 15 levels of parking. We had 12,000 cars parking. We had 3 Hyatt hotels in this. On the left image, on the left side, you see 4 towers, 40 floors of 4 towers of residential. So Abu Dhabi had created this Reem Island, which is where they wanted all the prime projects. And off this prime project island, this is the flagship site, the beginning at the entrance. So this had theaters, family entertainment areas, hundreds of restaurants, a few hundred of shops. I mean, everything you can think of, a huge office area. Amazing kind of a project. I really worked very hard on this till the tender stage. It is very interesting. Next one was, there's I think another image of Reem Mall, where we had taken, the ground, it flowed into the building at every different level. The garden used to go from ground level up to the 6th floor level. And you had restaurants at every level, and you can enter into every level. And because of the parking being in 15 levels, you could park at the level that you wanted to for shopping, for restaurants, for movies, for anything that you wanted. Then another project I worked on was this one. This is a really large project. It's called the Pearl Qatar. It's built into the sea. The whole land has been built up. It's completely, reclaimed from land, from the sea. And it's a few kilometers in diameter. It had 30 parcels. If you see the next slide, see now it's in this now. The whole thing is built in a circle. You see the center portion, the Pearl Qatar. It's built in a circle, and in the middle there's an island. So island is built in the middle of the reclaimed sea. I mean, it's really amazing. I will show you some more images as you go further. This is what the development was like. We were about 300 architects and engineers working on this project for 4 years. And so you can see that there are about 35 to 40 buildings. Each parcel had 2 of them, and they were residential towers. Then all the ground floor, first floor, second floor was retail and shops and restaurants. I couldn't even begin to count the number of restaurants and the number of shops. Each owner of the building was given a yacht, kind of a parking space for his boat, for his yacht. And in the center, the island has got a 7-star hotel. So this was a really exciting project. I'll show you some more images beyond this now. This is what somebody took recently after it was built. You can see that each parcel was designed by a different style. They took the Mediterranean style, Italian style, Spanish style, Moroccan style, different. Look at the color usage. Okay. This is the part that was like Italian. It had the Venice gondolas and they all had a huge amount of promenade, that is space along the seaside, where there were a lot of eateries, all outside open eateries, and people could come by boat. They could park their boat and go to their house. They could come to the restaurants. Exciting projects, really exciting projects. Yeah. Another view of the Venice part of it. Yep. This again shows a different view. Yeah. A night view. Yep. This is one of the stadiums we've been working on. This was for the World Cup football, which is supposed to be held in 2022. This is in Qatar, and where the opening ceremony and the closing ceremony take place. Yeah. The next one is Gulf University of Science and Technology. A very interesting building that we worked on, and it was a very unusual and chance to meet the students and ask what they wanted, and the kind of requirements that they had. We need Starbucks in this building. We need air-conditioned buses to take us from our parking space to the campus. All kinds of requirements. Amazing. We need a smoking room. All kinds of things, and we had to cater to the requirements of the students. And absolutely top class. Is more like a 5-star hotel. Very interesting project. Yeah. This has just won the award as the best design in the Middle East. This year it has won the award. This is the Kuwait International Investment KIA headquarters. And the stone for this exterior is all white marble with huge amount of effort is required to get this, get the stone for this. And it is a very prominent building that our office designed. Yeah. This is the Emirates Palace Hotel designed by our office, which we worked on in Abu Dhabi. Very impressive, ornate, absolutely ornate, and work. You can see the interiors also. You know, the kind of ornamentation done inside, huge amount of effort required to get these things done. I think that's about it. Just a few images to just show you how the kind of work that we are working on. So this was a very different kind of a challenge that we worked on. See, in the process, during the whole journey of mine, I worked in a small office. I worked in a massive office, the biggest office you can think of. I worked on my own, my own office. And what else did I work on? Yes, I forgot to tell you, when I was doing my own, I did a lot of contracting. And even in the first office, we did a lot of contracting. We did a lot of interiors work. We did a lot of interior turnkey work also. And we designed and exported furniture. We did landscaping work. I had to read up a lot of books on it because we hired a few landscape architects and they did not, they proved to be very difficult to handle. So they asked us to do the landscaping. We learned it and we did it. And it was great fun working with plants, interiors. So, like contracting, there's one client who told us, do a low cost school. So we designed it. It was a rural Rajasthan, deep in Rajasthan somewhere. And we said, fine, great. So they said, very good, fine. So I said, let me start construction. He said, you do it. I said, I'm not a contractor, I'm an architect. I don't build, I design. He says, yes, but all these architects, what they do is they say a price, it will be done in, I think the budget we gave them was 75 lakhs or something like that. This is about 25 years back. When the construction starts, the budget goes up and the architect blames the contractor blames the architect. So you take a turnkey and you do it in the price that you are offering, 75 lakhs. So we thought and we said, yes. We went down to Rajasthan, stayed there a few days, checked up the prices of all the local materials and what are the techniques and all that, stone, labor rates, everything. And we contacted cement suppliers, got truckloads of cement ourselves, and we did it. We built it within a year. We built the whole school and made a profit out of it also. So, I've tried everything there is in this line, and believe me, it's well worth it. You will not regret it. So if you have decided to go in for architecture, go ahead. All the best to you guys. Okay. See you in college shortly.
Thank you, sir. That was an array of different. Actually, it was varied platter from which you have had your lunch. So, yes, lots of avenues for people to get into practice, different ways. And today, I think the new architects, new gen, getting into competitions is one way of finding your foot in the field of practice. So many people, students who have graduated, fresh graduates, there are dime a dozen competitions that are coming on, and very well framed and very justly adjudicated and all that. So that gives a level playing ground for everyone, and it's a wonderful way to get into the practice field. So thank you, sir, for your talk on what practice entails and why one should become an architect. Now, after architecture, what? After BArch, like sir has told, there's a lot of avenues for practice, working under someone, having your own practice, under multinationals, as a consultant, so many things. But how else? Today's youth have got various opportunities, not just in core practice, but also in allied fields. And how can you go into your masters? Because there are so many fields. Today, just a bachelor's degree may not be sufficient, or you yourself may yearn to learn more or specialize in something. We have architect Nandita, who will tell us about what are the other things that you can do. Nandita is the founding director of Vivid, Weaving Inquiries in Design, and she's engaged in the realm of architecture and design as an architect, academician, and architectural journalist for over 2 decades. After garnering her master's degree in interior architecture from the University of Oregon and valuable teaching and work experience in the USA, she returned to India in 2004 and then set up her own consultancy, Design Edge, while renewing her teaching assignments in India. Vivid is a design initiative that incubates and offers programs which equip designers with qualitative augmented learning. Nandita has contributed many articles for magazines, design journals, and national newspapers in India on architecture and interior design. She has authored 2 books on architecture as well. She has been awarded the A3 Foundation Architectural Journalism Award in 2013-14, which is a national level award for achievement and contribution to the field of architectural journalism in the professional category. She currently leads the Indian Institute of Architects Karnataka chapter's publication committee and is also the state chapter's correspondent to JIIA, the Journal of Indian Institute of Architects. She is also the education consultant and global operations lead at the International Financial Corporations for their DFGE, which is the Design for Greater Efficiency course on green building design. She has carved a special place for herself as an exceptional academician owing to her dedication and unique teaching approach. She has presented many research papers in national and international conferences. Being a meticulous organizer and optimist enthusiast, Nandita extends her creative practice to varied mediums like typography, design thinking, and graphic design as well. She has curated and put together many architectural exhibitions, which she envisions as a spatial narrative of her written expression. Thank you, Nandita. This, what I read, which is a wonderful piece, is your writing. It's just tells us how well you write, and I'm sure you're going to tell our students how important it is to write what you think, not just draw, because otherwise drawing is supposed to be our language, and how important writing is also. I've seen from you and sort of learned from you in some way or the other. You can take over now to take them through this journey.
Sure. Thank you so much, Professor Sapna, for having me over. It's always a pleasure to be back at your college. And I've only seen your college grow from strength to strength. And, you know, what an honor and pleasure it's been to be associated with your college. So thank you for including me in this event. And I will just be sharing my screen right now. So just let me know if it's visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I'm just going to go into the full screen mode. Let me know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Good.
All great. Fantastic. Thanks. I'm audible also, right?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'll be doing in the next 15 minutes is, kind of taking you through what my experiences has been in this journey of being an architect, academician, and an author. And also I will be sharing, like Professor Sapna mentioned, what are your opportunities? What are the career options that you can do after BArch? So just like the introduction that ma'am just gave, I'm an architect, I'm an academician, I'm an author and a journalist. So I have dabbled with different careers and different options of careers which also brings me the expertise or the confidence with which I talk to you all right now. So I have been an academician myself. I run a consultancy. I'm very active in writing. I'm an architectural journalist, as ma'am mentioned. And I also dabble with various other mediums like graphic design and typography and design thinking. And I also, I'm a consultant to the IFC. So I'm proof that, you can do much more and beyond than just practice architecture while being an architect. And Vivid, as you can see on your screen, we run educational and training programs, especially for architects and designers, where we're trying to bridge the gap between what you can't learn in college to what the profession is demanding, what we call as the generated gap, not the generation gap. So you can visit our website and you will know more about what we do. Coming back to the point of this presentation and this discussion, for most of us, the idea of getting into architecture primarily stems from, hey, I don't want to be one among them. I want to be different. Like you just heard Ranveer sir also talk about it. Most of us approach the course of architecture with this mindset. But having said that, yes, we are different. We are not among the 15 lakh graduates who are coming out, who are engineers, or we are not even among the 30,000 doctors who are coming out every year. We're just a very small 20,000 per year set of graduates who are coming out. But nevertheless, what is important to understand is that the 20,000, even if it's pan-India, is not a small number, right? It's important for you to understand how are you going to set yourself into a unique path, because if you don't do that, what will end up is, just give me a minute. Yeah, sorry. What you will end up having is an identity overload. You will be one among the many that are getting graduated. If it's something that you're comfortable with, be my guest. I mean, you did not even pay attention to the rest of the slides. But if it's something that's going to bother you and say, hey, wait, there are 20,000 of us in India. How do I make myself different and stand out from the rest of them? Then you've got to pay attention to how to make a career out of this whole architecture course. For that, we have to start from the beginning. It starts even before you get into the course. You have to be prepared for this career. So some of the questions that I would encourage you to ask yourself is, how ready am I for a course like this? You did hear Kavya ma'am speak about how intense this course is. You heard Ranveer sir say how exciting the course is. So everybody's cup of tea is different. So you've got to understand what is it that you're going to be expecting from this course and how ready are you, not just in terms of finances and the bandwidth, but also the mental capability of taking on this course. The second most important question is, how much do I know about the course? Often we have students coming in saying, I'm very good at painting, I'm very good at drawing, I love being creative, and that's why I'm doing architecture. All of this is true, but architecture is much beyond all of this as well. So you've got to be a little clear to yourself, what does this course really entail? And that brings me to the next question is, how much does this course really match what I want to be at the end of it? 5 years is a lot of time that you're going to be investing for this course. And somewhere midway, we do have students who get a little disillusioned saying, I don't think this is what I really wanted. But there are many students who are extremely happy with the choice they've made. So rather than hitting a point of regret midway, and then it's sort of too late to go back and it's too hard to go front, I would strongly urge you to clarify whether this course really matches what you want to be, right? Which is what I'll be sharing in a few slides from now. And then, am I even suited for this course? What are the kind of skill sets does this course need? What are the kind of faculties that I will need? Am I having it? What do I do to develop it? So these are questions that I would urge you to ask. And last but not the least, do I fancy joining this course just because I want to sound like I'm different? I would strongly urge you not to do it just for the fancy of it, but really do your thorough research before you get into this course. Now, having said that, if you don't, what will happen if you don't do your homework? Well, so architecture course will just become about being survival, right? You will only be huffing and puffing and panting like all these figures that you see on your screen. And, just surviving 5 years will become more, a Hercules task than really excelling. You would want to get into a professional course to excel in this and go beyond survival because, hey, at the end of the day, I'm making a career out of this. So I want to be ready for a life after this course. And how do I prepare for that? What is it that I have to watch and learn for making this career work is something that you have to have your antennas on and ticking the whole of the 5 years that you're going to be here. Understand that architecture is not a course that comes with ready-made preset jobs. Unlike engineering or to some extent medical even, where the choices of the subjects are extremely clear, the paths that you can take is extremely clear. The beauty of an architecture course is it can fit anybody's requirements to their ambitions, to their skill sets, to their requirements. And that is what makes it unique and exciting. So you've got to understand the benefits of this course and also the limitations, right? So what does this course really give me, right? That's something that you need to know. That's what we have been talking about so far. So there are 4 aspects to this course, or for the BR course that you're envisioning yourself to be in. Now you will enter the course with some kind of talent. That's the gray part that I'm indicating. Now this is either innate, either you have certain qualities that you're going to come to this course with, or you must have self-learned. Like many of you might be doing NATA classes, many of you might be doing coaching, or you might be self-studying. You will be doing a lot of self-learning, or you might have the innate talent, but you will go to an institution with this set of talent, right? And when you're there, what your college will give you through academics is the knowledge component or the intellect component. What you will have to build consciously over the next 5 years of the course is your skill sets. It's a conscious learning. Even if you go to any college, some of the skill sets, like for example, it could be software skills, it could be writing skills, it could be interpersonal skills, communication skills. All of these are something that you have to consciously keep developing. You will not have a prescribed subject where they will teach you all of this, but that's something that you will inculcate either looking at your peers, or you look at your seniors, you look at your professional community, when you network and go and attend events and talk to jurors, talk to your professors, you will have to start inculcating the skill sets. And the last but not the least is your personality traits itself. It could be part of your upbringing, it could be a learned behavior. So you will realize that in the course of 5 years, there's a certain way an architect talks, there's a certain jargon that we use, your body languages, your dressing skills, the way you present yourself, all that will start morphing and developing for the better. And of course, there will be peer influences also. So this in totality becomes your strength. And that is what you will take forward in your architecture career. So it's just not one thing that you were sort of sculpting through these 5 years. This is what makes architecture different from, let's say, engineering, where the large focus is highly on knowledge-based learning in engineering, whereas in architecture, we say, hey, we are beyond that, and we are sort of like a complete package, if I can sort of say it. So what are the broad choices? Okay, fine. I'm with you. I see what are the kind of questions I need to answer. I'm equipping myself. I'm going to answer them. Say I make a choice of joining the BR course. What next? Now, one thing that you need to understand is all your life, you're being told about forward planning. You're told that beta, 5th ke baad 6th aayega, 6th ke baad 7th aayega. Then by the time you come to your 10th standard, then your parents would have said, just 2 more years, beta, just 12. And you know what, after that life is settled. So you're always pushed for forward planning. But what is important, the minute you're at the junction that you are, which is either your 12th or your PU or the point in which you're ready to start a professional course, you need to also start doing what we call as the backward planning. 5 years from now, where do I want to be? 10 years from now, where do I want to be? 7 years from now, where do I want to be? Now, this is a skill that is hard for kids your age maybe to envision, but I would still strongly urge for you to start thinking, what do I see myself 5 years from here? After I finish this course, what do I want to do? So there are 3 broad options that you have. Either you can pick up an area of your interest. It could be some of the subjects I will list in my next slides. You could pick this up. Either you do a master's course, like Professor Sapna ma'am just said. You do a master's, you get an expertise, you become a specialist. That is one option. Or you can also gain it through work experience. Either ways, it is not absolutely necessary that you have to do a master's after BR. But the point here I'm trying to make is that you pick a subject or an area of interest of your choice, and that's what you start following up. But wait a minute. What if I'm not clear about my area of interest? What if I am having certain skill sets that I'm very happy with? Like, for example, I could be fantastic at, writing. I could be great at my sketching skills. I could have phenomenal visualizing skills through softwares. Do I have a choice to pursue that after my BR? Absolutely. So you can also make your choices based on your skill sets. You can also do your career choices based on your personality traits. Now, this is something that doesn't get a lot of attention, but understand that when you do a BR course, not everybody who graduates is destined to become only a designer. We need all the 5 fingers to make a hand. So there are multiple roles that you can take about. You can get into project management. If you're a great negotiator, you can do project pitching. If you're somebody who is very meticulous, you're an organizer, you can do client management. So there are different modes and different formats that is needed for any practice or any consultancy to run. And depending on your personality trait, even if you're an introvert, if you're somebody who says, you know what, leave me alone, just me and my music and I'm happy, get into research. So there are different kinds of career choices that you can get into, even based on your personality traits. And it is not necessary that one size should fit all right? Okay, if these are the 3 choices that one has, what all can I do, right? So there is a matrix that we can sort of come up with when it comes to career choices. So don't take this as a table, which is like a prescribed format, and I say, I tick this. I'm just put this in this format for you to understand, because I don't want to do an overload of information at your age, which becomes a little overwhelming. So I'm trying to bring down 25 years of my experience into, 5 slides or 3 slides that is put in a way that you really get it. So my first choice is I could become a specialist. That's the point we were just mentioning. I could either do a master's course, or I could take up research. Or my second choice is I could become an entrepreneur. I could become a freelancer. I could be self-employed, or I could just remain a generalist or a expert through work experience. When I say a journalist, I mean, I could be somebody who's doing a variety of projects and not necessarily sticking on to only one type. Like I'm doing only malls, or I'm doing only residences. You could be putting your portfolio together in a variety of projects. So this is one level of the matrix that you can do. So what is the next thing? Suppose, say I decide to do my master's, like, that is popularly seems to be the choice these days. Then what are my options if I'm doing master's? You have 3 main verticals that you can choose your master's in. One is if you're doing your master's in a core subject. Now, every subject, whether you take engineering, medical, or architecture, or design, or fashion, there are certain subjects that are non-negotiable. That is what forms the core of that particular profession, right? So you will know once you join the course that architectural design, urban design, landscape, interior architecture, heritage and conservation, building technology, sustainability. Some of these are what we call as the pillars of the course, or the most fundamental ones which are non-negotiable, right? So not that all the other subjects are also equally important, but this is what we call as the core subjects. So you could pick up your master's in any of that. Option 2, hey, I'm not really somebody who gets so much into design. Am I lost? Absolutely not. You can move into what we call as the intermediate slab. In the intermediate slab, you have subjects which sort of touch the core subjects, but are also on the fringe of the allied subjects. So you could be doing project management, you could be doing building services, history, theory, lighting design, parametric design, structures. Any of these intermediate subjects is something that you can pick up. The third option is to do on allied subjects. Now, this is something that is picking up a lot of popularity these days with architecture students. I don't know why, but it sort of seems to catch the fancy of many architecture students. After BIAC, many people are getting into design. It could be HCI, it could be UX, UI. Many students are doing psychology as well, especially spatial psychology. You could also get into law and governance. One of my students, of course, many years ago, finished BIAC, and she joined a law firm, and she's now into arbitration of building projects and all of that. So law is again another option. You can get into teaching and pedagogy. That is also a space that is available. And I'm just sort of listing out all the other allied topics that is possible. Like you see here, literature, linguistics, graphics, product, industrial, cognitive psychology, behavior psychology, anthropology, archaeology. Understand that all these allied subjects are at the fringe of architecture, right? They don't make the core of it, but we overlap with them in a lot of ways. And once you get your training in architecture, you could do a switch, or you could, start putting your foot into any of these subjects as well. Some of them, which is really, again, picking up, is also social entrepreneurship. You could, start working with NGOs, start your own NGO if you want to. You could also get into resource management, given this whole climate change and the talk about sustainability being so high. Resource management is something that a lot of companies are looking for. So these are some of the allied subjects that is open after you finish architecture, right? What is my last rung that I have to keep in mind when I'm doing my career choice is, what is really your appetite for career, right? Hey, you know what? I'm somebody who loves to get my hands dirty, man. I'm a very high risk learner. I want to, really get there in the middle of things. I'm willing to take all the risk. I'm okay working for a small firm, but you know what? I want lots of experience. Then go for a small scale firm, go for a startup, go for a boutique firm where you will be having a lot of learning. It will be high risk learning. The reason why I use the word high risk is because you may not have the cushion of a fantastic salary. You will have to, let go at times, but you will be exposed to a variety of learning, right? No, I mean, I sort of want to have a very balanced life, 9 to 5. That's all I want to do. You know what? I want to pack up my bags, have a life after, I'm done with work, go for a medium scale firm. I know this sort of sounds like I'm trying to sell stocks here, where you take a low risk, high risk, and medium balanced risk. But seriously, I mean, this is really how you need to start thinking about your career, because it needs a lot of introspection as to what kind of a person you are and how much of risk you are willing to take. So if you're we have a lot of students coming back and saying, I'm a fantastic musician, but I also want to become an architect. Then go for the medium scale balanced experience, where you can probably have, multiple careers and multiple interests, and this will sort of let you be in both the places. No, I want a very low risk life. I want a very cushioned life. A fat salary is what I'm looking at. I want absolute, recession-proof life. Go for an MNC. Many of the government projects, many of the government institutions also offer this kind of experience. It's very secure, but you do tend to run the risk of monotony. I'm not saying all MNCs are boring, but you will have a very repetitive life. So if you're okay with that, and if you're not somebody who's looking for an adrenaline rush every morning that you walk into an office, be my guest, take up a large scale office. So this is how it will look if I put all of those points together for your attention. Okay, so I have a matrix. What next? How do I make my career choices? I'm just showing one of the examples of how you can do. I could choose to become, I could say, for example, I make a choice of doing research in one of the allied subjects like psychology. You could go and get into a startup, right? So again, one of my students, she was doing her bachelor's in psychology parallel to architecture through IGNOU. It was a correspondence course. After that, after BIAC, she went to do her master's in London. again in spatial psychology, and is now heading a firm which talks about spatial cognizance in cities. So today you have the pandemic, which has changed the way cities function. A lot of our buildings have become defunct. The whole social infrastructure has changed. We're not talking the physical infrastructure. So how do we morph and change the cities? So she's working on a lot of psychology related projects, but with architecture, right? So whatever I'm claiming or giving you is real life examples, and it is, people have done it and have found it to be extremely exciting. One of the other options, hey, you know what? I want to gain a lot of work experience. I'm not really such a buff about, doing masters and reading more and more. I think I've done it enough. I'm done with my 5 years. I want to become an expert, but through my work experience, again, it's still possible. Maybe you choose to become an expert in project management. You could still be working for an MNC, like I told you. And that is also another option. One more option, or one more example that I can give you right now is I could become a freelancer. I could become self-employed. I could be doing architectural projects, like how you had Ranveer sir share his experience of running his own firm. And you could also grow up to become, you did not be a small timer all the time. You could definitely be a medium scale firm with 50, 60 people working for you, even though you've started your freelancing with a very small capacity. So if you realize, the matrix is quite complex, and this is why it makes it difficult for any college to give you a placement, because the permutations and combinations and the matching and the possibilities is so immense that after doing the course, the choice is really yours as to what will you match with what to make this work for you. All right. So what are the highlights then? What is my takeaway after hearing to these career choices is that the options after architecture are multifold. You have many, many options. You also have an option to have multiple careers at the same time. I'm living proof for it. I teach, I write, I practice. I'm also involved with a global institution like IFC and World Bank. I'm also into typography, graphic design. So I can vouch for you. It need not be just one. Gone is the time when you say the minute you're a jack of all, you're master of none. I've completely disproved it. You can be a jack of all and a master of all also. And that is thanks to architecture. I don't think I could have been able to dabble with so many different careers if it had not been for architecture. And please understand that no matter what are the different facets of career that you're doing, it is finally converging into architecture itself, right? Or say, hey, I don't want to do multiple things. I just want to do one thing and go deep. Absolutely be my guest. You can focus and dwell deep and become an absolute niche expert also. So we've had a student who was very keen in science right from his college days, from his 11th, 12th days. And after joining architecture, he was working with the head of the department of mechanical engineering to develop a pod that can sit at the edge of Earth's gravity. So what if we have a city, like how you see it in Jetsons and all these other science fiction movies? So what if you have a city that we can develop, say 12 kilometers from Earth surface? So you're still within the gravitational pull, but you're sitting there at that level in your own pods, and you're having a life of your own, just like, we are talking to each other right now. The boy went on to take this up as his thesis as well. So it was an actual doable project that he kept working on through the 5 years. He did not give up his dreams of science, although he got into architecture, developed this, took it up as his thesis. He did get some resistance. People thought he had lost his plot and stuff like that, but he stuck through. And today he's in Netherlands, and he's counted as a top 10 visionaries under 25, the age of 25, who could be redefining what architecture can do further. So the point I'm trying to say is he just stuck to that one idea, that what if I build 12 kilometers from Earth's surface? And he went absolutely deep down into it. He dwelled deep into it. And that is also possible. Architecture gives you that option. And well, you know what? I just want a very simple life. I want to have a fat paycheck, come home, chill with my Netflix, have a cool life. You can still follow your conventional paths. You could still, go the regular way. I'm not trying to put them down as being boring and not interesting at all. They're very much needed and they're very much as exciting. But if you want to follow conventional paths to say, I will finish this and say, I will join my dad's practice, or hey, I'm going to start on my own, I will become an architect, that is also possible. And the most important of all is that architecture gives you a choice to have new age roles. Like I've been giving you examples throughout this talk. It is possible to do, new age roles. So I'm sort of going to conclude with that. These are the two posters which has really at least helped me define my career as an architect. If you decide to lead, go where there is no path and leave a trail. It's very easy to walk on a path that somebody has set right for you, and you say, hey, you know what? This is me. I'm just going in the same old path. But trust me, 40 years, 50 years later, when you look back, you will not get the kick. You will be like, okay, I made lots of money, but hey, did I have a life? Second thing is always push yourself to do something that you don't know. Not knowing is a thing that is very scary, but that is also something which is very challenging. And you will face that every single day in an architecture course. You will be thrown challenges by your teachers, by your peers, which will keep challenging and saying, what next? What if? How can I do this? So if you will have to be constantly reinventing yourself in this course, so try mastering and growing beyond what you already know. And that's where I would end my talk. And this is my contact details if you want to get in touch with me at some point. I'm also on Instagram, and that's my email ID and my website. And I'll just stop my presentation at this point, and we could take up questions later. Thanks again, Professor Sapna.
Thank you, Nandita. That was captivating. All of us were
Thank you.
actually captivated. I'm sure
Thank you
it
so
has
much.
done a lot of good to the students, ones who are planning to come into architecture. And also we had some participants registered who were already into architecture. I mean, they were doing architecture, some from our own college. I'm sure
Great.
your session has helped them clear out a lot of things in mind. You put their this one in perspective. So thank you for that. There were a
My
couple of questions that have been asked on the chat box, and also when students registered. I'll just take some of them. This is for Kavya ma'am. It says, please throw light for non-Karnataka students. What do they need to do apart from writing the exam for BIAC, I mean NATA?
Okay. So for students who have not studied 7 years in Karnataka, for students outside Karnataka, you have an option of filling in the COMEDK application forms. COMEDK is basically for students outside Karnataka. So you need to fill in the application form for architecture and then submit your NATA scores. COMEDK will give you a different set of rankings. So based on that ranking, you choose a school of architecture based on your ranking. So COMEDK, and then you do have management. You can approach a college of your choice and seek admission. Say you want to be part of Mysore School of Architecture, you can probably get in touch with Sapna ma'am and she'll help you on how to go ahead with it.
Okay. The next question, either Nandita ma'am or Kavya ma'am can answer this. How do you choose a college of architecture? I'll say choose Mysore School of Architecture.
And I will vouch for it.
No, apart from that, but if somebody comes to you and says, if I had to choose from so many colleges, what would be the parameters or something that based on which I will make a good choice?
Kavya, do you want to go for it first? Or
ma'am, you go, I'll follow you.
Okay, great. So see, if I were to make a choice of the college, the first thing that I would put in place is the, I mean, in the list of priority is, where do I want to study, right? So studying in a tier 1 city to a tier 2 city, it has its own good and bads, right? So yes, if you were in a tier 1 city, your networking, your exposure is a lot more, but so will your distractions and so will your traffic, right? So in a lot of ways, going to a tier 2 city like, Mysore, Manipal, a lot of these education based or, cities that a lot more calmer, but, are sort of closer to a tier 1 city is, any day comfortable. Like sometimes even Pune is very comfortable. So I would first make a decision about where I would want to study. Now, once you've zoomed down on the place of study, the second choice that I would make is I would look at the college faculty and I would look at their teaching capacity. So who are the kind of people who come and teach in this particular college? What are their credentials? What are the kind of events that they've been happening? How much can they support me in this whole thing? So that would be the second thing that I would check. The third thing is the peer group, because trust me, you learn more through your seniors and your peers than you will from your teachers. So there's going to be a lot of critiquing, a lot of self-learning that goes into architecture. So you will also have to look at what are the kind of student group or the campus life or the learning life that you have in this particular college, right? And the last but not the least, I mean, I would probably even put that upfront is the fees and the infrastructure and the cost of living. How much can you afford this kind of a college? So that also becomes important. Of late, one of the things that people are looking for a lot is branding, right? And like Ranbir sir said, even today, come pandemic, corona or no corona, IITs are still IITs. Nobody can beat them to it. I'm not disputing that they're not quality colleges. Absolutely, they are. But people are getting more aware and conscious about the brand of the institutions that they're getting associated with. Now, while it is important in your initial years, where you say, oh, I am from such and such a college, or I've graduated from such and such a college, trust me, that is a chip on your shoulder that you can hang on to only for the first few years of your life. After that, if you don't grow as a professional, it does not matter whether you're from, Harvard College, or you're from, IIT, or you're from any other college. So initially, yes, maybe the branding will matter. And these days, people are also considering that as one of the parameters of college choices. But from my experience, it will wane off. People will start looking at you beyond your degree to what you are as a person and what you have achieved. And they will make their commitments to you as clients or as potential employers going forward. So these are some of the parameters that I would sort of list out for myself if I'm making a choice.
I totally agree with what architect Nandita just told. Yes, all those things do a very big role in choosing which architecture college. To add on to what she said, I would say visit the architecture college. Right now, with the pandemic, visiting the colleges is becoming difficult, but then you can always approach the different schools. I think most of the schools are happy to discuss the kind of pedagogy that they have. Visit the colleges, I mean, whenever it's possible, meet professors, meet the deans, look at the kind of exhibition of the graduate students, work of the graduate students, speak to students across different semesters. So this will give you a better idea of what the school is, what is it that they are giving to you at the end of the day, what is the best use that you could make with the resources that they provide you, and you also get to understand if this is the place you would want to be, the kind of competitions that they organize, or whether they let you participate in a set of competitions. That's also very important, because there are a few schools that don't allow or help you in participating in competition. So I think you need to look into all of these things, the achievements of the alumni, where they are, and as Nandita ma'am said, socializing. Yes, that plays a very, very important role. So these are a few parameters that you need to keep in mind when you are choosing your architecture college, and make sure the architecture college you choose is the best choice that you've made.
Thank you. This question is for Ranbir sir. This person has asked, how can an architecture student start his or her own business after pursuing a BArch? And are there any other courses that the student has to do which will help him or her pursue her own practice? This person has used the word business. I would rather use practice.
When I was graduating, my lecturers told me, do post-graduation immediately because you'll never do it afterwards if you don't. I said, no, I think I have not learned anything in college or very little in college. I want to see what real life is, do a little bit of practice, and then I'll do my post-graduation. And my lecturer was right. I never did post-graduation. And I'm thankful I didn't do post-graduation. I'll tell you that. There's absolutely pointless is what I feel. I know there must be a lot of students here and everybody believes in post-graduation. Everybody. I think I'm the least qualified in the college, right? So now for practice, you don't need any particular course as such. There are students who are now in first year and are practicing. That's very well. I would never recommend that because you don't know enough. You need to be fair to your client also. You need to learn enough to be able to do justice to the work that you've been given. So, what do I say? Shall I be honest? Shall I be blunt? What shall I do? You need to have a rich father-in-law, or you need to have connection with some minister or something to do very well. You have to have a good social connection. You need to have a lot of good contacts. That's something in architecture that will take you a long way. It's very few who work, who slog like idiots like me, who really, the ant. The ant works on slugs and slugs and slugs and slugs, and finally he reaches somewhere. Okay, I've done that after 43 years. But Sapna, you want to say something? I thought you opening.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add to this. Having a good social connect is very, very important. I have seen with people who I used to work for and even other architects, they all become, members of Rotary and then some other organization.
I was coming to that, yes.
That's how they build up, friendship, their social network, and projects come that way. And always it is one project that comes from another. So it's because of your good work. If your present client is very happy with what you've done, then they refer you to another friend of theirs. And that's how the whole clientele builds up. So your interpersonal skills, first of all, you have to do justice to your work. You should remember that you are handling this, the savings or the money or the aspirations of somebody who's worked very hard for it, and that you're trying to materialize their dreams into spaces. And you have to be very honest and very proper while doing it. And once that is done, many architects, they build such a friendly relationship with their clients that they become, family friends, and that's how they, get the whole thing going. So that's very important.
Word of mouth is very important, very, very important. You have to be very sincere and hard work and do a good job, and you'll automatically keep getting more and more effort.
Yes, that will happen. You should also have a good connect with your peers. Many a time today, especially in today's times, you don't have the scale of the projects are so big and all that. You always have to learn to work in groups. There are these consortiums that are more working well now, and so you have to have an open mindset and be a team player. Then you're going to win. If you are egoistic and just all about yourself, it's very difficult to make it in the industry. Very difficult. Another question for anyone. It says, Manandita, did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to add that your team of people who will support and help you out when you start off also become equally critical. I would probably vouch for my contractors and my carpenters more as family today than anybody else.
Yes.
So they become your, eyes and legs in a project. And having a good team and developing a good team of people whom you can work with also becomes equally important when you're starting out. Because you could be a fantastic designer, but if it is built in a very bad way, shoddy way, then all your work will go down the drain. So one of the things to keep in mind when you start out is also to have a good team to support you in-house as well as on-site.
Yeah. One question is, it's I think very generic. Somebody is asking, is architecture too difficult? And how to manage time while studying architecture? Ranvi sir, you want to take it?
I think as a principal, you should answer this. Anyway, you can add to it. Is it, I'll just say a few words, then you can do the
Yeah.
bulk of it. Difficult. It's definitely easier than nuclear science and space science. There's nothing difficult in it. It is enjoyable. See, if you take any course that you like, you will enjoy it. It's nothing is difficult. It's just fun. I enjoyed even now I enjoy everything that I do. It doesn't become a chore. It doesn't become a work. It doesn't become a task. So anything that you do with your full interest and effort, becomes nice. So as a course, I would say it is not very difficult. No, because there's so much of practical things. There's so much of fun. There's so much of hand, arts and whatnot involved in it that you will enjoy doing it. You won't even realize when time goes by. I mean, I was talking to the fourth years recently. They said, "Sir, we just joined in first year. How come we are now in fourth year? They're leaving college." Can you imagine students saying that? The 4 years went by so fast. Can we? I said, you don't mind. We don't mind if you stay for another 2-3 years. Carry on. We'll fail you. You like us very much. You can stay more with us. So that is the first part about the difficult. What is the second one?
Is how do you manage time while studying architecture?
Time management. I can talk for the next 2 hours. Would you like for next 2 hours? Time management. Ma'am, you can take over there.
No, see, the question of difficult and easy comes when you're not enjoying it. When you're enjoying something, nothing will be difficult. If you put your mind to it, anything is it. Like Sir said, this is not rocket science, but it is definitely common sense. And one has to learn to question first. I keep saying this, when you have to understand the why of something, why is a certain thing done? Then you can innovate on the how aspect, how it is done. If you understand why things are done, then how it can be done can be in a million ways. You have to, basically understand the why of it. And once that happens, it's easy. Of course, it may be a little time consuming because you want your ideas to be original. You don't want to take it from somewhere. That idea generation initially may take time. That is where your aptitude aspect comes in. If you have a natural aptitude to it, it comes to you a little quickly. If you are a little less on the aptitude, it may take you a little more time. That's all. But over the years, you learn to do that also. After all, that is why you have a structured course for it. Otherwise, before the formal study of architecture, there was the apprentice and the guild system, wherein people would work, like sculptors and artists. They used to just work under a master craftsman for 6 years, 7 years, and while working, they would learn. There was no formal course for study as such. But then now it is very structured, and that is the whole point of it. And there's so much of research happening as to how to deliver these things across to people who want to learn it. And there's now the opportunities are even more. You don't have to, it's not just the college that is there. The whole, World Wide Web is there for you to learn. Only you should know how to screen to get the most important things. Managing time, yes, you have to learn to work in verticals. That is there everywhere because so many things are happening in parallel. And that is something that you have to work over in this one. Many a times I find that not just students of architecture, people nowadays are getting so carried away with the social media, their laptops, their phones and all that. If you have set timings for that. I'm not asking anyone to not at all get involved in this, but if you manage your time on that, I'm sure it is possible. Nandita and Kavya, if you want to add, please do.
Just a line. If you like doing, you just have to have an informed choice before you take up architecture. And this is where your passion lies. You will enjoy it. But if you are not sure or you're pushed into it, there's no bigger torture than doing architecture. Yeah.
I have a couple of points, Professor, if it's okay to share.
Sure, please.
Yeah. So the first thing is, how difficult or easy is architecture? The pressure comes in where you have to keep on generating something new. Okay. So I would partly blame it on the upbringing or the education system that most of you all have from your kindergarten till your 12th. We successfully and continuously break and kill the creativity in the people. In fact, there's a study itself which says between 0 to 3 years, creative quotient in people is as high as 85%, but by the time they hit 21 years, it is as low as 2%. Now, this was a study done by NASA scientists, which says that only finally, by the time you hit 21, only 2% of the population is creative anymore. So what has happened is you are in an exam-oriented or rote learning kind of a system till the 12th standard or the second PUC of your life. Now, suddenly, when you get into an architecture course, what throws you off gear is you may not have textbooks, people are not really telling you what to do, you don't have some rigorous weekly tests that you have to mug up for. Suddenly, people are saying marks are not important. Sheets and drawings which you've never done in your life, maybe at the most what you would have done is for physics, biology, or chemistry to survive. That becomes the biggest priority. So it is a huge, major shift in thinking. And it's just a major shift in the way you are. And that sort of takes time for people. And people find that a lot of pressure. And that is what is probably the most challenging task in an architecture course, is the faster you make the shift. So a lot of students are in denial initially. And then, and slowly they say, Acha, there is no two ways to it. I would rather do my drawings from my AD studio. My teacher is not going to give in. And by the time they give in and they master the whole course, it's already 4th year. So I would suggest that if you're making a conscious decision about architecture, understand what it takes. That's what I kept saying in my presentation also. You cannot expect to become a doctor without knowing what it means to be. Similarly, the same thing for architecture. Don't join the course and then whine, right? So know what it is taking. That's one. Second thing is, for most of you, or what I've seen, is joining a professional course is like hitting nirvana. It's like your life is done. Oh my God, I slogged and slogged and slogged. I slogged so much in 10th, I slogged so much in 12th. Finally, I'm in a course, I'm done. I can have my life, I can socialize with my friends, I can party, I can do all the things that I didn't do for the last 12 years. Finally, I can have a life. Absolutely true. But also understand that you don't want a half-baked architect coming out. Would you ever go to a doctor who looks up Google for your cough and cold? You would never trust the doctor in your life, right? So you would never want to become a half-baked professional. So as much as it is important to have a college life, have your youth, enjoy your friends and everything, it is also equally important to know where to draw the line and get back to your professional life. That is where I would say time management starts becoming very important. Instagram, your phone is such a whirlpool that the minute you get caught into it, you could be spending hours and hours and hours not knowing what is happening. And then it's already 3 o'clock in the morning, and at 7 o'clock, you're doing a jury. So time management primarily comes from priorities. Even if you had a bad physics teacher, you would never blame that physics teacher for your board exams. You would just do what it takes to get that 90%, 95% for your physics in your board. So the minute you approach architecture also similarly, I think your time management will all, it will fall into place. Just get your priorities right. Not getting overwhelmed by the course or not getting overwhelmed by your social life, but having a balance of everything.
Okay, I think we've taken quite a few questions. If anyone has any more, you can always write to us. Just now, we will put out the feedback form in the comment section. Please make sure you give in your feedback so that we are, aware of how beneficial it was for you, or if it wasn't, or if you were looking for something else, so that in our future programs, we can keep this in mind. Somebody has asked about the fee structure in Mysore School of Architecture. You can call on our landlines. Our office will be more than ready to help you on that, because there are 3 types of admission. So there's a CET, there's a Comet K, and there's a management. So the fee structure is different for each of those. And we also, do have some sort of a scholarship and all for the deserving students, even if they do come, whichever mode they come from. That will be from the second year based on their performance in the first year. So that is also there, but please contact our office and they'll be more than ready to help you. Lastly, I would just want to, because this is going to be quite insightful for us also, somebody has said, what is the next era of architecture? We can have one more, I think, 1 hour session on that. I mean, you were talking about somebody who wanted to make a pod 12 kilometers within our
Yes.
gravity pull. So
Yes.
many endless options like that. But Nandita, I think you can take this.
Yeah. So what's the next? See, I think that's the most, if there is a silver lining around the pandemic, that's the possibilities of open-mindedness that people have become to today. And the number of new ideas people are willing to try out and experiment with. If you had thrown in an idea saying, hey, you would have to wear a mask throughout the day, probably 2 years ago or 3 years ago, people would have said, you've lost your plot, buddy. Go for a hike. Maybe it's time to hit the Himalayas. But today it is a possibility, or it has become a reality. The point is that we are at a junction where we are pushing ourselves to sort of say, what next, what new, right? So I think what's the next era of that we're going to see in architecture? Definitely a lot more digital. There is no escape from it. You will digital in terms of learning, digital in terms of remote construction, 3D printing. Technology is here to stay. There is no escape from that. The second thing that is here to stay is our hands. People are going back a lot to doing a lot of things on hand. People are going back to a lot of NGO work. People are doing a lot of social work through architecture. So being a specialist is definitely the way forward. You can become multiple specialists, and definitely the team, being a team member is also important. But thinking out of the box, be as radical as you want to be. Now is the time. People are willing to listen. People are willing to hear you out. As new as your idea can be. So I'm not complaining that we are in the pandemic, we are in a closed box, because this will also pass. And once we are out of it, the amount of newness and the new changes that we can bring around, as architects is just immense. We are at the the blind spot where we turn the curve, and we don't know what is in store, but I'm extremely hopeful. Then, so technology, new age thinking, and the third is to become a specialist. And the fourth one is to be a specialist yet a team member. I would say these are the 4 verticals that architecture is here to grow.
Thank you, Nandita. 6 people have already submitted their feedback. Thank you for being prompt. I would urge the others also to please submit their feedback immediately. I know once we're off the webinar, all of us get back to our own grinds, and we may or may not have the time. So please take a few seconds to fill up the feedback form so that we can make it much better the next time. We've had a very engaging session with all our panelists. It was a pleasure for me to moderate the whole session, and I am on a high now. So what I would leave the students who aspiring to join architecture or whatever, I would just leave them with this thought: be the architect of your destiny. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
so
you
much.
all. I think some of them are thanking us. Thank you very much for making this session successful, because after all, if the participants are there, then that is why we are here. And if it has helped you in some way, I think our day is made. If there's anything else, you can please, write to us. You have our emails, you have the emails of our panelists. Please feel free to contact us if you have any other queries. Thank you, Kavya ma'am. Thank you, Nandita ma'am. And thank you, Ranbir sir. for taking time off and doing your own little homework to, I know there was a set agenda and all that, and you've all sort of stuck to what we asked you to do. So thank you very much for that. It's just because of the paucity of time we had to, restrict certain things. But thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. And keep doing the great work that you're doing.
Yeah.
Every time I come back, it's always a pleasure to see how much you're growing and how well your students are doing and how fantastic your teaching team is. And every time you grow from strength to strength, it only makes me so much more prouder to be associated with your college. And you're doing a fantastic job. So keep doing the good work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
That means a lot to us. Yes, Kavya.
definitely. Yeah. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, all of you. I mean, it was a privilege to be a part of it, and I'm sure your college is definitely doing the right things for the students. I mean, who would even think of doing something who were not even part of the college, something for the new age architects, somebody who would want to get into architecture. So I think that was a very noble thought from your end. And thank you so much for having me over. And it was a pleasure being a part on the panel along with great minds like Ranveer sir and Anita ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Just for everyone's information, this recording of this webinar will be available on MSA Social YouTube channel. So if any of the students want their friends who haven't been part of this to look at it, you are most welcome to tell them that it is available on our YouTube channel. And they can access it at any time.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good day, everyone,
Yes.
and stay home, stay safe, be happy. I hope I'll see some of the participants at MSA.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.